Matthew chapter 20 verses 1 to 16. Are you envious because I am generous? Jesus told his disciples this parable. The kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out at dawn to hire laborers for his vineyard. After agreeing with them for the usual daily wage, he sent them into his vineyard. Going out about 9 o'clock. The landowner saw others standing idle in the marketplace, and he said to them, "You too go into my vineyard, and I will give you what is just." So they went off. And he went out again around noon. And around 3 o'clock, and did likewise. Go out 5 o'clock, the landowner found others standing around, and said to them, "Why do you stand here idle all day?" They answered, "Because no one has hired us." He said to them, "You too go into my vineyard." When it was evening, the owner of the vineyard said to his foreman, "Summon the laborers and give them their pay, beginning with the last and ending with the first." When those who had started about 5 o'clock came, each received the usual daily wage. So when the first came, they thought that they would receive more, but each of them also got the usual wage. And on receiving it they grumbled against the landowner, saying, "These last ones worked only 1 hour, and you have made them equal to us who bore the day's burden and the heat." He said to one of them in reply, "My friend, I am not cheating you. Did you not agree with me for the usual daily wage? Take what is yours and go. What if I wish to give this last one to you? Or am I not free to do as I wish with my own money? Are you envious because I am generous? Thus, the last will be first, and the first will be last." This parable speaks especially to those who felt superior, and assured a place in heaven, because of their ethnic background, their heritage, or position in the community. Remember, the Jews felt certain they could live as they wanted and were guaranteed a place in heaven because they were God's chosen people. Others thought that because they spent so much time with Jesus, they were theologically superior, thus also guaranteed a place in heaven. The parable also speaks to new believers as reassurance of God's grace. It makes no difference at what age you come to the Lord, what is important is, coming to the Lord. In the first grade some could read, others couldn't, but in time almost all learned to read. The same is true of religion, some find faith early in life, others take longer, but the reward awaits all the faithful in heaven. This parable really isn't about rewards, but it is about salvation. It is a strong teaching about grace, which is given to us through God's generosity. We shouldn't begrudge those who turn to God in the last moments of life, because, in reality, it is this that we enter into eternal life in heaven. If you live life as best you can, and when you fall short, you need to seek God's forgiveness and grace. The parable tells us of the goodness, mercy, and generosity of God. We are all given the invitation to work in God's vineyard, the world. We can never judge God for his actions or decisions because we are limited by our own life experience. We are more like the first group of laborers. The world teaches us the longer we work the more we are entitled to make. The parable tells us of God's boundless blessings and mercy. We are not entitled to our God-given talents. It is through God's mercy and blessings we have the skills necessary to be the thread woven into the tapestry of God's purpose. Your children will eat tonight because God gave you the skills to earn the money, to provide for them. At this point in their lives they are unable to do the same for you, but they can help with household chores which is their way of honoring you, their parents. Remain in me, as I remain in you. Just as a branch cannot bear fruit on its own unless it remains on the vine, so neither can you unless you remain in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever remains in me and I in him will bear much fruit. Without me you can do nothing. Anyone who does not remain in me will be thrown out like a branch and wither. People will gather them and throw them into a fire, and they will be burned. John 15 verses 4 to 6.